What's up, everyone, and welcome to Azizi podcast. My next guest is Jay Chaudhry. Jay Chaudhry is a three-time award-winning producer and co-founder of Break Media. Enjoy the show. What's up, man? How's it going?
What's going on, Aziz? How you doing?
Samir. It's Samir Azizi.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry. Let's start that again.
That's all right. That's all right. That's it. Let's keep it in there. I like this kind of
All right.
stuff.
Last name's Azizi, right?
Yeah, Azizi, Samir
Yeah.
Azizi, and you are on Azizi
Samir Azizi.
podcast. If you want to call me
Yes, sir.
Aziz, just call me Azizi. That's fine. Call me by my last
That's
name.
dope. That's dope. First of all, it's so cool to be on your podcast because little did I know that you're from Toronto, and
Yeah.
we both grew up in the same city. Whereabouts in Toronto do you live?
Well, I live in a place called Little Portugal. I don't want to really disclose exactly where I live, but yeah, in the Queen West area. So around
Right.
here, and it's a nice area. I'm originally from Kazakhstan and
Mhm.
lived in California for the past 9 years. Then went back to Kazakhstan, and then now I'm in Toronto. And I'm planning, I'm dropping an anchor here. I'm staying here for now, and yeah, really enjoying it.
That's awesome, man.
All things considered, I don't want to dive into quarantine thing, but yeah, I mean,
Right, right.
other than that, everything is pretty awesome, and I love it. The area is nice, the people are great, and yeah, just loving it. What about you, man?
That's good, man.
Are you from Toronto originally, or what's
Yeah,
your story?
I grew up at Jane and Weston. Grew up my whole life there, and then as of recent, because of work, I'm finding myself traveling between Toronto, New York, Vegas, and LA. So there's no
Nice.
real home for me now, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, born and raised in Toronto, Jane and Weston. Shout out to Drake, of course.
That's
And
the best shout out. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm from Toronto. And
yeah,
shout out to Drake.
and I guess you could say I'm one of the few people from Toronto who's actually making some noise in the business that you and I are in.
I know. It's crazy how this city is it's pumping with sports and
Yeah.
franchises and all, but all of a sudden, like in the industry of combat sports, it's just so quiet,
Mm,
and then like in the industry of, when I heard about your company Break Media and that is in Toronto, I'm like, oh, like that's interesting, that's awesome, because like usually you'd be like in California, right, or like in
right,
New York or something like that. But the
right,
fact
right,
that you're
right.
here, and the thing is, a lot of companies are coming here right now. A lot from
Mm.
Americans, like Silicon Valley companies. So they're all moving here to Toronto, to Ontario. So
Mhm.
we're pretty much gonna expect some growth here for sure.
No, you know what it is about Toronto? I think, I mean, ever since the beginning of time. So I went to college and I studied film and television. So my original career path wasn't in sports at all.
Hmm.
And just back then, I think Toronto was still called the Hollywood North of,
Interesting.
um, North America, because this is the city where productions and high-end films and high-end TV series at the time and still do are produced at high level. So I knew from a very, very young age that Toronto was a hot market for sports, for TV, for film, for entertainment. And it was all about finding that niche market as to where you fit in that circle.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I'm noticing this right now. I didn't really know about Toronto International Film Festival, but all of a sudden I'm realizing, wow, that Toronto, like this festival is a huge thing, and once a
Yeah.
year the whole Hollywood is actually gathering in this
Mhm.
particular spot, which is awesome. Which I'm assuming that kind of helped you out here as well in terms of your profession to be in Toronto. Like, and I don't know, do you have any experience with the filmmakers here in town?
Yeah, of course, man. I grew up in the filmmaking scene, so like my time during the filmmaking scene in Toronto wasn't short at all. We produced heavy amounts of short films to short form Hollywood type of drama series to TV shows for network television. My father at the time, he owned one of Toronto's biggest, or Canada's biggest, South Asian television programming. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so we learned a lot just in the TV business growing up and understanding how audiences were being captivated at home. We learned a lot about advertisements in terms of how they were being placed. So just growing up in that circuit allowed me to have a better understanding as to what goes on today in today's audience consumption of TV ads, marketing, and data. And yeah, it's been a huge influence for me growing up in the city, learning from the filmmakers that I did, because all of us have, in one way or another, went on to achieve great things in our own respective industries. So it's been really, really cool to see that.
Did you always know that you're going to be in the industry? You're going to be in the production, that Hollywood, that film industry,
Yeah,
because you were
yeah,
born into this
no, yeah,
family?
for sure. Yeah, I knew
Nice.
from day one that I wanted to be a filmmaker, producer. I just didn't know where it would take me now. Where I'm 33 now.
Uh huh.
I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was like 16. I accomplished the goals there. I picked up a lot of awards for what I've done. And now I'm using my background in film and TV and integrating it with the current state of communication, which is social media, data, and audience acquisition, because I truly believe that with the right content, as long as it resonates with the fan or the viewer, they can convert to a sale. It's the same method used in TV and advertising, except now we're working with shorter attention spans for sure. The audiences are way more interested in looking at short form content rather than long form. And it's just been really interesting to see, the dynamic shift over time.
For sure, man, for sure. I'd love to talk more about that. Have you considered acting, by the way? You got that jawline going on for you.
No acting here, man. I think I'm done with those days, dude.
Oh, you tried it.
No, you know what?
That's all right.
In high school, college, of course, I think every guy who thinks they're hot shit tried to go into modeling and acting. I gave it a shot. Didn't work out.
Nice. Well, I mean, it's the effort, man. Cool.
Yeah.
So let's get to business here, right? Enough with this, pleasantries. Let's talk about it. I saw you on, well, first of all, Jason Tufexis, who was a guest on this particular show, he told me about you recently, like a month ago. He's like, this guy is the best. Like, talk to him. He's in your town. And I was really excited. And I was actually like thinking of like, okay, I'm gonna reach out to you, and usually I invite everyone right here and we talk face to face. But unfortunately we cannot do it. So, but whatever, we're gonna work with what we have. And then, I followed you on Twitter, and I see more and more of your content and what you're putting out and the advice, and all of a sudden I'm realizing, wow, like this guy is about sports marketing. That's exactly what I'm really interested in, and that's exactly where I see that are like a lot of problems in combat sports in particular are, well, not problems, but a lot of opportunity, I would say, in social media, in content output, in that investment in yourself, in your brand, for which you then get the returns afterwards, right? But people don't understand that. And I was talking to my previous guest about that, and it's like, who is there to tell that to a boxer, to an MMA fighter? And I feel like not a lot of people talking about it. And then I see you, and you're exactly preaching that. Like you're preaching the content output. So I started researching you, and basically realized that you're the guy, you're the man. So tell us about what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so it started with the notion of athletes are not being marketed as the superstars that they are. That's how that notion started for me. I've always been into, obviously, sports. I wouldn't say I was always an avid fan. I mean, I knew my shit when it came to the NBA. I knew my shit when it came to the NFL. But it was like short circuit shit I knew of, just following the games. But when I really dug deep in terms of like why I was so passionate about these games, like I'm not even an avid hardcore fan. Like I had friends who could list stats from NBA players from like going back to the 80s and 90s.
Right,
and I couldn't do that. So I was like, well, why do we share the same passion then? Why is it that you and I can share the same passion for a sport and over an athlete, when it sounds to me like you know way more than I do? And it came down to because I was acquired by that sport. I was acquired by the athlete.
What does that mean, acquired?
I'll tell you what that means. It means growing up, I used to hear names like Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Tiger Woods, and I would throw fucking tantrums in the middle of, Price Chopper or No Frills aisles for the new fucking Wayne Gretzky cereal or for that new Michael Jordan product. And it was because I was acquired by the athlete. Now, how does an athlete acquire you? Well, it was through the art of storytelling. Back then, the art of storytelling was in only three forms, right? We had TV, radio, and newspapers. And that was the only three mediums that we used to consume the content in. And because there was only three at the time, I think these stories were less accessible. So when we finally got a story of Michael Jordan's inner life, or Wayne Gretzky's, take a look inside Wayne Gretzky's home and his family, we actually used to absorb that data. And over time, we became accustomed to knowing that these were the all-time greats. And it was through content, right? We never called it content back then. We called it media. But fast forward to today, I can now resonate with a certain NBA player, NHL player, NBA player, just because of those stories that have been told, and it's in my psyche. So now when we're fast forwarding 2020, and mind you, I kind of like just got into boxing for the last 7-8 years or so. I started realizing that Yo, I remember these stories of Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Joe Louis. I mean, my fucking dad used to tell me stories about Muhammad Ali. And
Right.
I went into research and found out that these used to be sold out fucking stadiums, dude. We had 70,000 people, 100,000 people at these events,
Hmm.
um, for the major events at least. And as I dug into the current state of boxing, I'm like, where's the disconnect? Why is it that boxing is moving backwards when it should be moving forward? Why is it that the likes of Dana White can just come in the middle of our fucking party and start excelling at the rate that he's going? And it's because he's doing it very well through story. None of our athletes are being portrayed the way that they're supposed to be. And when I started looking into it, I realized it came down to these promoters, networks, and managers who aren't doing this job. I don't think there's a single manager, a single promoter, a single network doing what they're supposed to do outside the ring for our athletes to become
Hmm.
superstars for this youth, because the youth are not watching boxing, Saturday Night Live boxing or Friday Night Live boxing as much as they used to. The viewership
Right.
has gone down. And as much as these Twitter experts want to debate the numbers,
Hmm. Hmm.
I can tell you for certain that those numbers are fabricated and they're just over fucking dramatic, you
So
know?
what should the promoters do? Do you think it's a promoter's job to work on that? And if yes, then what exactly should be done? What is the action here if you are promoting a boxer?
I mean, those are the conversations that I'm having right now.
Hmm.
So I'll tell you as time goes on in terms of how well they kind of like pan out. But
Hmm.
being in the industry for the last 2 years, 24 months, it's taking me 24 months to get into the ears of these promoters. In the beginning,
Hmm.
they weren't listening. If you go back to some of my tweets from my earlier days when I started Break Media, um, I was shouting this from the mountaintops. I
Hmm.
was one of the first people ever to introduce the idea of KSI Logan Paul becoming a big picture fight in
No,
boxing.
really?
Yeah, and I was actually, I'll say this publicly, I was actually the first person on the line with DAZN who told them about these two fighters.
No way.
And
How
they're
that
like,
happened?
who the fuck are they? And I said, these guys are going to be your next fucking matchroom superstars. That's who they're going to be.
Uh-huh.
And they were giggling at first. This is 2 years ago, and I
Right.
said, just keep watching the space of YouTube,
Uh-huh.
find out what's going on, and I'm guaranteeing you that Eddie Hearn's going to pick them up. And he did, obviously. Eventually, it became
Uh-huh.
one of the biggest lucrative fights for DAZN.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
like that's like the most successful return on investment that DAZN done in America.
right? And and I and then I actually started like really getting frustrated because they weren't following the blueprint that I was kind of putting out there for how to actually market that fight. Like they should have not only gotten Logan KSI as that main card, that's fine, but these other
Hmm.
cards that they had set up,
Hmm.
they should have cross promoted the YouTubers with the boxers in their own original content series, and they didn't do that.
Hmm.
And that's
What
why.
would that look? What would that look
I
like?
mean, you could feature some of our like Virgil Ortiz in a vlog with Jake Paul. You could have done like a cross
Uh-huh.
promo feature with you know what I mean? Like just YouTubers versus boxers. If you're going to bring the YouTube world to boxing, right?
Right.
You're going to collaborate on the content
And they can
because they
promote.
bring the fans, they bring the eyeballs, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
another thing is this: when the YouTubers are bringing their fans and they're bringing the eyeballs
Hmm.
to us, to
Hmm.
the zone, you got to have fucking content here, right? We had shit. We had nothing. And
Hmm.
this is why the Jake Paul fight subscribers left. This is why the Logan Paul fight subscribers left.
Hmm.
Because they're like, what am I staying here for? You guys are not giving me shit. I'm out of here.
Right.
I've told this countless times to DAZN. I said, build original content. Our
Hmm.
fighters should have our own series on the platform. Chris Algieri should have his own cooking show every Thursday. Ryan Garcia should have his own show every Monday. And then you know what? I mean, this is a whole
Why do you
different
think? Why do you think?
conversation.
Because I was thinking about that too, and I was like, well, why don't you just get the boxer and start putting out content? But do you think it's just I don't know, like it's costly? Like, do you think is this decision
No,
was
it's not
that
costly.
considered at all? Do you think they considered it and then they're like, well, financially it doesn't make sense? Like, what was the reason for not doing it?
It's not financially doesn't make sense. I think the zone is really fucking obsessed with celebrity status, and this is why they do um, those shitty series featuring Draymond Green and all this stuff. Like I'm not saying it's shitty in terms of quality.
Hmm.
I'm talking about it's shitty in terms of fan acquisition. It doesn't convert.
Hmm.
Nobody's watching fucking you know these 48-hour, 40, 24-month series with Canelo featuring Draymond Green. Like, what are you
Hmm.
doing?
Hmm.
What are you doing? You guys are supposed to be porting to the younger audience, and yet you're not doing it. And then I find out later that these guys, they're just all about celebrity content. They're not
Hmm.
about the youth at all. They just want to convert. Now, going back to the promoter side, because I think that's very important to start talking about.
Right.
The promoters want to see an ROI. So for them,
Mm-hmm.
it's expensive. Okay. So when
Mm-hmm.
I'm pitching the promoter, like, hey, listen, we should really start kicking things into high gear for some of your athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Give us your top 10. I say, give me your top 10. Let me show you what I can do with them in 14 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I can start activating brands along the way. We
Mm-hmm.
can start coming up with a banking system where we can save up money to produce like a really cool series at the end of the stretch that we can sell to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It all sounds good to them,
Yeah.
Aziz. Like they're all just like, wow, that sounds fucking awesome. How much is it
Mm-hmm.
gonna cost me?
Mm-hmm.
Then you show them the mark, and they're like, well, this is not worth it. I'm like, why not? And this is where they think that they're businessmen, and I don't think that they're acting like proper businessmen. These
Mm-hmm.
promoters are like, well, I need to see some kind of return on investment. I'm like, your
Mm-hmm.
return on your investment is your athlete. Your return on your investment is your fans.
Mm-hmm.
Because these fans, once they start rocking with your athlete and you can start promoting them in local shows, they're going to start showing up to these events. This is long-term thinking, what I'm telling you. This is not short-term gain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not a stock. We're not buying something that has an immediate ROI, can go up and down. This is a rising stock that's inevitably going to a certain future because everybody's going to be on content sooner or later. All sports are going to be streamed sooner or later. So
Right.
if your athlete does not have a piece of the fucking pie, he's going to lose. Because fast forward 4 or 5 years, fast forward 6, 7 years, when you finally realize it's too late, your athlete is going to come to you and ask you questions as to
Mm-hmm.
why aren't I fighting? And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to tell them it's because you're not popular enough and you can't sell tickets. Well,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't you make me fucking popular, Mr. Promoter, at the
Right.
time? And these are the questions that these promoters are going to be asked very heavily. And there's going to be a huge shift in the sport
Mm-hmm.
where athletes are going to have to start building their own content, and their name, image, and likeness is going to have to start coming from their own pockets, perhaps, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe from major brands. Now, in order to
Mm-hmm.
get major brands, you need to be able to sell yourself, and that's where we come in, Break Media Group. So we're activating brands for athletes to get them some side money.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming up with systems, monetizing systems where we can have in place for them for later, because I'm not stupid. I know that they can't afford my bill up top as a filmmaker to produce like a 7-part travel and food series.
Mm-hmm.
But could your sponsor? Yes, they could. So let's get them on board. And in order to get that kind of money, we need to build you first. So that takes, 12, 16, 18 months. Once again,
Right.
it's a long-term stretch. And this is
Right.
why I work with prospects, not major contenders.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But do you think, since promoters are obviously not getting it right now, big ones, small ones, I don't see them either. Like I don't see them making a move on that particular, medium. Maybe they're not the right people to talk to. Maybe go to their managers, the boxing managers, or go to the boxer right away. I mean, essentially, everyone is working for the boxer. I mean, boxer is the boss, basically, and so ultimately the boxer is the one who can make decisions about his likeness and so on. Is that
Yeah.
maybe? Do you think that's like a better strategy? Just reach out to them directly.
Yeah, we've tried that. We've tried that a lot. Who's the manager though? Do you know who these managers are? They're not business people. They're not Ivy League students who graduated fucking Harvard, right?
Well, I would hope so. I would hope the boxer would find someone who is qualified to managing, and not just hiring their nephew or their cousin to just make sure.
And that is what's going on, Aziz.
Yeah.
Like these
Once again, it's Azizi podcast. My name is Samir Azizi. See,
Azizi.
I gotta.
Azizi.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, bro. But
It's okay.
Azizi, no,
That's
you're absolutely
that's
right.
a great example. I gotta work on my branding as well, so that so that my guests remember.
That's just me waking up too early. That's all it is.
That's so good. No worries, man. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's easy. But so these managers who you're referring to were the first point of contact for me in the beginning of my stretch,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought that the promoters were a little bit too tough to get at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just picked up the phone. I started finding out where the boxers were
Mm-hmm.
training at. I started there, called the gyms. The gyms would give me the number two. Oh yeah, you're talking to that guy. Okay, I know a guy who knows him, and then you eventually get to the hands of the manager. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I'm the manager, and you're like,
Yeah.
cool. Now in my head, where I come from, you're the manager, so you're obviously certified, you're educated,
Mm-hmm.
you understand my world, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to close fucking deals left, right, and center, because I
Right.
just assume
That's what
this
I
is how
would think.
easy it is
Yeah.
to get to the manager of these
Yeah.
high prolific athletes. Wow, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm like, awesome. So I started talking to some pretty big athletes managers. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to drop too many names, and each one of them over and over again failed failed me completely. They weren't getting it.
Mm-hmm.
One of them in particular was asking for a cut just to talk to the athlete. He said, "What's my cut?" And I said, "What do you mean, what's your cut?" I wasn't getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, so I need some money for you if you want to talk to him." I'm not trying to fucking talk. I'm not a fan.
Right.
I'm trying to build something for you guys. And
Right.
then he's like, "Yeah, well, I need some money up first before any of that starts." So I said, "Okay, well, there's that
That's such a
manager. There's the
BS, man. I didn't expect that. I thought at least. I mean, I know like in the 70s, 80s, there is some stories about managers and promoters, but I feel like by today, like people are already learning to hire smart people. It's even wherever you come from. But that
And
comes as a surprise to me that management is still such a such a shitty territory.
it's lacking. So back to what I was saying, like that was the shady manager, and then you have just the other manager who doesn't get it. He's like,
Uh-huh.
YouTube, yeah, what about YouTube? Man, we don't even know YouTube. We're about to make millions.
So there's no business acumen. There's no that, you know.
And I'm just like, and there's a specific fight which breaks my heart. He lost this night, very famous guy, and it was all over like social media. I
Mm-hmm.
talked to him personally, and I said, "Listen, dude, let me set up your channels. Like, you're a champion now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not going to last for long. You only
Mm-hmm.
got a few thousand followers on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The only people who actually know you are hardcore boxing fans who know you're the champ. Your
Mm-hmm.
own city doesn't even know your fucking name yet. Let me build that for you. Before your next fight, let's build it. Before your next
Mm-hmm.
fight, let's
Mm-hmm.
build it." He was so cocky in himself that he was going to win that night that he told me, "Just watch what I do after I win next. I'm never going to need what you're talking about." He lost that night, and ever since then, I've been paying attention to his engagement.
Mm-hmm.
He's done, even from the hardcore fans. So what makes you think anybody gives a crap about him locally? He made
Mm-hmm.
probably $500,000 that night. Cool. That's probably the last check you ever see.
Mm-hmm.
And in 3 to 5 years, he'll be broke, and he'll be depressed, and he'll be chasing the limelight, and he's probably going to take a last-minute fight that's not going to go his way health-wise,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the sad end to his story. And so, why put yourself through that? Is my question. Why put yourself through a situation where you're not setting yourself up for the long term? These fights are not forever. Boxing doesn't last forever. But the
Mm-hmm.
way that the industry is headed now, you can start building yourself platforms that can last you a fucking lifetime. And you can actually build systems in place that can help you achieve your personal goals outside of boxing. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that's very important to me.
So let me ask you this. I mean, and I don't want to like take out some customers or some clients out of your business, but it's really takes it doesn't take a lot to start doing this. I mean, it doesn't take a media agency. Of course, you need a media agency to up the production and up the quality, but at the beginning, it's more about that kind of changing of the mindset, right? It's getting out of your shell. Get your
Yeah.
freaking cell phone and start putting out content
Yeah.
every day. Show what you do. I've been talking to some boxers as well, and I'm like, yo, like, just show what you're cooking, man. You like to cook, like, post a picture, like stuff like this. So it's mostly like asking boxers themselves, just reaching out to like trying to like jump over the management and promotions, like, hey, just put out content, just take your cell phone and start recording, start recording your training, your routine, just do the live chat. By the way, did you notice the Cardi B like her Instagram live lately? It's crazy.
No, but
She's getting 100,000 freaking live viewers on her Instagram, and her content is amazing. I mean, I'm not like a fan of her music or whatever, but like even I see the freaking quality of how like engaging she is, and like you just cannot stop watching her, and she's just putting out this
wow.
content while sitting in her kitchen, and it's just, and she's so
Yeah.
funny, man. But anyways, why can't boxers just do that? Like, make it your routine, make it your job. Hey, every freaking day at 8 p.m. for 20 minutes, you go on Instagram live and you just ramble, you just talk about it, do the Q&A thing, and so that's what I'm trying to like
They're
get at
not,
is,
they're not being, that's a very good question. So let's talk about that.
yeah.
It comes down to education once again. So let's take a look at the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, and the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB. Yeah. So you got those 4 major leagues. Think about the process of each league and how the athletes come up through the system, right? First of all, you have to go to school. Let's start
Mm-hmm.
there. You have to go to school. So while you're in school, you're already in classes.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, these college leagues, they require a certain level of education to keep playing. Okay, so you're already coming into the mindset of 80% or higher, 85% or higher, or I can't fucking play next week. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're trying to play college ball, like football or basketball, bro. Your average has to be fucking high.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called IQ. The same way that we boast about a ring IQ, these guys actually come from a real IQ institution.
Mm-hmm.
But then these organizations, they're already building systems in place for the athlete after their career. So while you're in the major leagues, and I was working with Vayner Sports athlete,
Hmm.
Josh Martin,
By the way,
last year.
huge fan of VaynerMedia and Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was so excited to see that you're working with him. So that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. The Vayner Sports gig was an eye-opening experience for me. I think working with them on their project with Josh Martin was just, it gave me more of a dynamic range of what I can offer,
Uh-huh.
because up until I met, Gary and AJ and his team, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the sports agency I was trying to create, but I wasn't sure how to execute some of the programs. So working with them, they really kind of showed that to me in terms of, this is how you strategize and this is how you execute those programs. And then
Hmm.
we built this series around one of their athletes, Josh Martin. But it was on set with Josh where I really learned about how athletes work from different leagues. Because up until this point, now I'm a boxing fucking guru, so I know everything that's happening in our sport. So when I took a step back and went to the NFL mode, um, he told me that, dude, like we're like, we have to keep a certain average in education throughout our entire career. We have agents in place who
Hmm.
constantly remind us to do social, to get with
Hmm.
our communities, to do community outreach, to do charity outreaches, and to stay on top of training and all that stuff
That's
on top of
perfect.
it.
That's what boxers need.
Yeah. So when I started realizing that, oh, so it's actually like a sports agent that boxers need more than ever. It's not so much a manager who manages your deals and your
Hmm.
payments. It's not so much your boxing trainer who shows you how to throw your mitts. It's
Well,
not
let's.
so much a promoter who
So
just promotes you during fight
here's
week.
the
Like,
thing,
you
though,
need an
right?
agent. Huh?
Well, here's the thing. Like, why does the agent do it, right? Because the agent gets the cut of any sort of a business deal, as far as I understand. So getting your brand out there and increasing the attention and the outreach gets you in sponsorship deals, and the agent gets on that sponsorship deal as well. So it's a
Yeah.
win-win situation, and that's what exactly
Yeah.
what they do. And that's what boxers don't understand, or maybe the deal is not worked out that way, where it should be in everyone's interest to do it.
Yeah. No, and that's why it's a marathon, not a race mentality for me and what I'm doing at Break Media. I understand that we are very early in the game, but I also understand that we're going to be the last one standing, because I know for sure that one way or another, boxers are going to start knocking on our doors, right?
Hmm.
So right now we're the loud ones. I understand I'm obnoxious as fuck on Twitter. I understand that I make a lot of noise. I understand that I may not be likable to a lot of promoters and
I don't
managers.
think you're obnoxious enough. You should like turn it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's break it.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about my personal PR for the last couple of months in terms of how I wanted to come into the space, and it was being a little bit of loudmouth because I needed to be.
Yeah,
But now that I got a little bit of attention, I think it's time to educate now.
that's a good idea. Yeah.
I'm done with the bantering. I'm done with the barking. I did all that.
Hmm.
So that was the reason why I'm here now, because I barked my way up.
Hmm.
But now that I'm here, it's time to convert. And what I mean
Hmm.
by that is time to educate now. And this is why you'll see me sharing a lot more uh, wholesome content about the game, because at the end of the day, I do this for the love of the game and the love of our athletes. Now, as a hardcore fan, like, there's nothing more you want to see than an athlete succeed, right? And then now, if you can be responsible for it, I mean, that's a whole other feeling. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
um, but going back to what you were saying about sponsors and brands and stuff like that, another case study that we did, I don't know if you know about this, was we activated boxing's first ever Pizza Hut deal.
Oh wow, tell me more about it. Didn't know about
Yeah,
it.
so it was with Money Powell from Atlanta, Southern fighter. He's 10-1, fucking gorgeous knockout power. He fought on PBC on Fox. But the funny part was, how I came across him was, we saw two of his post-fight interviews that were trending online, and he kept saying, "Shout out to Pizza Hut, shout out to Pizza Hut." And I'm like, yo, who the fuck is this guy? Like, he's so, like, he was really like sparky, and I'm like, okay, this guy wants to Pizza Hut deal. I'm gonna get it for him.
Uh-huh.
So I DM'd him, and he immediately replied after his fight, because I wrote in the subject line, "You want Pizza Hut?" And that's all I could fit.
Uh-huh.
And then he DM'd me right back, and he's like, "Yo, like, is this for real?" I said, "It can be for real." And then I said, "Sign with me." And so he signed with me, and yeah, within like a couple of weeks, after some headhunting, I got
Hmm.
in touch with the PR rep for Pizza Hut, and they ended up cracking the deal with us for sponsoring Money Powell. And we have two pieces of original content that we did with Pizza Hut,
Hmm.
and that series is expected to grow. Hopefully, after the virus is done, we
Hmm.
had something planned actually before the virus hit with them, but that
Hmm.
didn't go through. But that was boxing's. Like, when was the last time you saw a franchise like that sponsor a boxer? Tell me that.
I know,
When was the
man.
last
And
time 7 Up, Pizza Hut, McDonald's, Burger King, Name me at least 5 fucking boxers who got that done.
Well, the
Many
one I
people
know
know
is Triple G with Jordan. That was a pretty sweet deal.
No, Triple G. I'm talking about American boxing. Triple G's
Yeah.
wicked. Canelo, wicked. AJ, wicked. Name me an American boxer.
So let me ask you this. Remember Andy Ruiz and his Snickers deal? Like that he loved Snickers and he has like a Snicker banner on his Twitter.
Yeah.
How come Snickers never picked it up? What do you think has happened there?
I was in touch with Andy's team. Not a lot of people know this. I was in touch with Andy and Frank, his manager there. We were going after the Snickers deal ourselves for him. And what happened was the deal didn't pan out because they inevitably thought that Snickers would do it for them. And which they kind of did. I saw what happened afterwards. I saw that Snickers gave them a belt or something. But I was thinking, why didn't you just do it through us? I would have got you an actual sponsorship deal with Snickers. Once again, it comes down to bad management, man. And this is
I know they were not prepared for this.
I still love you, bro. Like we had a wicked conversation, whatever. But that Snickers sponsorship could have been huge. It could have been very big for Andy. I don't think it's a slip and fall on their part at all. So this is not a knock on them. His manager at the time I was speaking to, I think he had good intentions. It's just that he probably thought he could do it on his own.
Right.
And then he let social media just do the job for him. And Snickers just ended up. I mean, when you're at that level where you're tweeted about so much and your fans are adding Snickers, eventually they're going to do something for you anyway.
I know, but what exactly did they do? I don't even know that.
They just sent him a belt that said "Welcome to Snickers."
Yeah, but what does that mean? Like, did they get like
it wasn't
commercial?
compensation. It wasn't compensation. Yeah, or maybe I mean I don't know, but it's not. Those types of sponsored deals are not usually compensated because he wasn't featured in any Snickers ad after that. He wasn't featured in any social media campaign with them, and it's totally just once again the lack of education on these managers and their teams who just kind of lack that knowledge in terms of how do I leverage this deal now.
And honestly, I'm disappointed in Snickers too that they did not, because I don't know. I would hope to think that they actually did some research, they did some analysis and came to conclusion, not to go with the deal or something like that. But I hope they at least thought about it, because if they didn't, like I don't know what is their PR or the marketing team think about it. So
now, once again, I mean, I know there's somebody watching right now looking at me saying, "Do you think he gives a fuck? He just made $25 million, right?" And it's true. Like, yeah, at that level, you don't necessarily have to give a shit because you're making that kind of money. But I'm talking about these young guns coming up, man. Like Snickers could sponsor an athlete. Any one of my athletes are Snickers worthy. Any one of my athletes are Burger King, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, as I mentioned already did, worthy. And these guys are not making money. Like these guys are making $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a night. You're telling me a sponsorship worth $25,000 is going to help them? Of course, it's going to help them, right? So that's what we do, and then we use part of that money to build content for them. Right? So it's a win-win. And then the whole goal is you're 21 years old, you're 5-0. By the time you're 12, 15-0, you're going to have over 100 brand deals underneath your belt.
Exactly.
Because you will have a belt. And you're going to be a prize fighter, and you're going to build an audience along the way so that when and if the time does come where this whole boxing game changes, in which I think it's going to, in the way I think it's going to change, these fans are going to be the only thing that you wished you had back then and now. And so we're building that for you.
And the whole idea with brand sponsorships, no matter how big or small they are, ultimately, it's a building of a reputation, in my opinion. If you get something lower, you get up. It's like with my podcast right now. I'm getting more and more guests, and every day my guests are more high profile because of the previous guests. They see that they can trust me, and I can talk to them. So I'm building my own brand just like that, just building it up. And I feel like, I don't know. I completely understand the boxer's mentality. Well, not completely, but I can see, they are athletes. What they think about, they live and die in the gym, and they just train. So I really don't expect, it would be awesome if a boxer would have like a business acumen and mentality like Floyd Mayweather, for example.
I don't blame the boxer at all. I feel so sorry for the boxer at times. I don't feel sorry for the ones who are milking millions, because those guys, whatever, God bless you. I feel sorry for the ones who are coming up and they see what's going on. Like they're coming up and they're like, TikTok's cool, right? Like I see my friends on it, but I don't know how to use it. Instagram TV is cool, man. I follow these YouTubers, like Virgil Ortiz. He's a gamer.
Right.
His manager should wake the fuck up and put him on Twitch. And I've tweeted this.
Absolutely, 100%.
He's a fucking good-looking kid. He's a gamer. He can build 100,000 plus audience just on Twitch. And the week of his fight, he can come and play with them. By the way, guys, don't forget to watch my fight this weekend for $20 on DAZN.
Mm-hmm.
half of those guys are gonna fucking buy that fight. Are you kidding me? And it's like
Mm-hmm.
these guys won't think like that. They're just like, whatever. Let's just keep it going, keep it chugging. And it's like you're not giving a shit about your athlete at this point. You're not. Like you're relying on the funds from DAZN more than you are about your athlete's mind and what he's capable of doing. And you cannot rely on fighting for your money.
Mm-hmm.
It's eventually going to kick you in the ass, pun intended. You're going to get knocked out. Your belts are going to go one day. Everything's going to stop one day, and then you're going to be left with your dick in your hand, wondering what happened to your life.
Do you think boxers should, the up and coming or their promoters or managers have a budget for buying actual media? Facebook, Instagram, just actually paying for ads over their fights. Do they have? Do they?
Say it again. You cut out there. What did you say?
Do you think the boxers should buy media? Do you hear me well?
Do you think the boxer should buy media?
Yeah. Do you hear me well right now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. So media buying, right? So you're buying ads on Facebook, you're buying ads on Instagram about yourself, about your fights, promoting yourself that way.
You're talking about from a boxer's perspective,
right? So like, there is one thing where you just putting out content, right? And you're trying to get viral, right?
Yeah.
But another one is artificially, let's just buy a bunch of ads on Facebook about my upcoming fight at the club show.
They're doing that anyway. Yeah.
Well, do they?
Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah, paid media is big in boxing.
Do you think do you think it pays out?
I mean, who's on Facebook nowadays? But I get it. Facebook is larger than Facebook. They can pixel you and track you on different websites and whatnot. Promoters are currently doing this. They do promote through Facebook, but they're not. I mean, it's not the current trend though. So why are you doing Facebook? Is my question. Like,
well, Facebook and Instagram, like I'm just saying social media in general. TikTok, for example.
Yeah, but like Facebook ads. Here's the thing with today's audience. Okay, and this is because I've come through the whole pipeline you're speaking of. I mean, I started in TV, went digital, went mobile. I did the whole Facebook dark post thing. I did the whole marketing through Facebook. I did social media ad placements, and then I came out at the other end where I'm at now. That whole spiel in the middle there that I was talking about, customers and consumers are a lot more smarter than they used to be. And when they think they're being sold something, they usually press X or skip or just swipe. So you don't want to package something that the consumer thinks they're being sold on. Rather, you want to give them something to be entertained with, to get invested in emotionally. And this is something that I talk about very highly. If you can emotionally get to your fan, he's going to financially invest in you.
How's that? How do you tap into that emotion?
By providing them with a certain level of content that they want to keep coming back to. How do you think the YouTubers are doing it every week? When you got the likes of like PewDiePie and like Ninja Gamer, who they don't just play games for a new audience every weekend. It's not like a million people invested every week are new and a million people leave. It's the same people coming back for more. And it's not because they're amazing gamers that they're learning tips. It's because they're emotionally invested with this guy now. Because through these games, through PewDiePie, for example, and I'm only naming two of the top because they're like something noteworthy.
Yeah, I feel like you just picked like the cream of the crop, PewDiePie with his 100 million subscribers. Like, yeah.
I picked the cream of the crop for a reason because they built the audience over the course of a decade and they all started at zero.
Right.
And it's not like they're building million-plus new audience every week. It's the same guys coming back because they like him. I like him.
I watch him sometimes.
Right? And if you don't want to go there, we can go something lower. We can go to the Logan Pauls and Jake Pauls because they kind of match with our fighters.
Not too low. A little lower would be better, for an example.
But it's a perfect example of just audience acquisition.
Yeah, absolutely. I get what you're saying.
The sub count that they did for DAZN. So for our fighters to emotionally engage their audiences, it's important for them to start showing their inner self more. So if our fighters can start showing, like you said, you convinced one of your fighters recently to start cooking on his IG. If you can start showing these athletes that it's okay to be vulnerable with your audiences.
Exactly.
It's okay to know that you're into fashion, bro.
A lot of them are introverts. That's the point. Like that's where like someone needs to help them out. And I would assume that would be a manager because I think manager would be the closest one, closer than promoter. But I don't see that.
It's us, and that's what's going to happen. It's us. That's the noise that I'm making now. I'm not trying to boot out the manager. I'm just trying to be an additional support to the manager because it's okay if you don't know your shit. It's okay to outsource this stuff. So it's going to take time for this whole thing to kind of convert, though, from my end. And I understand that very well. So when people look at me and say, like, you're in a more, I get a lot of people who DM me, man, say, yo, you're in the wrong fucking game, bro. With your mindset, you should be in the NBA, you should be in the NFL, you should be in the MLB.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can totally do that. I got friends in NFL, I got friends in NBA. I mean, I got
Mm-hmm.
friends with the Toronto Raptors here at home. You don't think I
Mm-hmm.
can make a phone call? Of course I could. But for me, it's like, I love challenges. That's always been my game.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to prove people wrong, and I always wanted to come into a market that was untapped. I did it in filmmaking by being one of the first ever filmmakers to start converting to DSLRs. At the time, DSLRs, I know I'm going back and forth here, but
That's all right.
time when I was coming up, these digital film cameras, they weren't even known back then. I was
Mm-hmm.
one of the first users. And what happened through that was I ended up becoming a Canon cinema brand ambassador because I took that risk in changing my
That's
entire
awesome.
setup to digital. And Canon made me one of their ambassadors in 2012. And I started getting, like really, really great equipment from them on the house.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes back to this. Now I'm in boxing. It's a new challenge. It's untapped. Nobody's here. And if somebody wants to come play, you're welcome to. I always like competition. But we're here to change the game forever. And that's my goal.
I feel like, and that's amazing. I'm so pumped by just hearing you speak, and I feel like you can convince so many people, to get on board. And I hope that you will. And I was just thinking about that. Like, first I was thinking to tell you, like, you know what I think? I think every boxer should wake up at 4 a.m. and watch like 1 hour of Gary Vee to talk about content. But now I'm thinking, scratch that. I want them to wake up every morning and watch 1 hour of you talking about this shit. And that would be amazing. So I really hope, and we're not finishing yet. I want to ask you a couple more questions.
That was an awesome compliment, man. I appreciate that. And the reason I appreciate that notion is because, like I said, Gary and his brother AJ and what they've built on their own, just two brothers really, is inspiring. They weren't gold fed, they weren't spoon fed. What they've done for themselves and their agency over there, the model that they've built of content strategy and marketing has completely changed the landscape. Like, they got people down on Wall Street and Manhattan Ave scared of them. And these are just two fucking Russian kids. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they're scared of them. Like, you're talking about digital advertising execs. So that mentality I'm bringing into boxing. I want people fucking shit scared of me in the industry. I want people shaking in their boots. And if you're not scared now, you will be eventually.
So here's a case for you, right? Because what I'm seeing right now in boxing, a lot of people are following Triple G's footsteps, and they're coming abroad. A lot of promoters and managers are getting those talented kids from Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan and Russia, and they're bringing them to Canada or to the United States in hopes that they can, repeat Triple G's success. Mm-hmm. But the problem always that I'm seeing here, and it's not only the Eastern European guys, it's also the any kind of non-English speakers. Yeah, and obviously, because they don't speak the language, and I'm talking like they don't speak it at all, they will tell you, if they will say 5 words in a row in English, that would be a huge success for everyone, anyone who interviews. I'm saying that as an interpreter as well. But and that's kind of like my issue. Like, it's not my issue, but it's like a challenge, right? So how do you promote a guy like that? He doesn't speak English. Like, obviously, you need to tell him, like, learn English. But like, okay, let's say he doesn't speak it. What do you do? How do you do it without the speech? How do you promote someone? And that's what I'm always like thinking about.
Yeah, that's a good question. And Triple G set the open lane for that, because Triple G, in my opinion, is one of the most lucrative athletes outside of US, who people still consider American boxer. Because I put out a tweet recently about Triple G. No, actually, I put out a tweet of a question that said, when was the last time an athlete got sponsored? And somebody said, well, Triple G. It's funny, you said the same thing today too. But I said, yeah, but Triple G, do you consider him an American? And the guy responded, oh, yeah, that's right, he's not. But I'm like, that's really interesting how his first thought was Triple G was American, right? So that's your answer right there.
Does that apply? I mean, do you think Jordan discriminates between American and non-American?
Yeah, I think Americans are very patriotic. So you got to bring your athlete here and Americanize him. And that's what they did with Triple G. And that's why he was able to strike the brand deals that he did with Apple Music, he did one with Cristiano Ronaldo. Mm-hmm. And then he did a third one. I can't get my hands on it. He has 3 major brand deals, though. And it was really big stuff.
And again, so, whatever he did was like a genius, and it was amazing in terms of success. But what about these new guys? The new ones that are coming in here, because Triple G was his own.
Footsteps, only more. follow the footsteps anymore. If you're a champion in Russia right now, if you're a champion in Ukraine right now, and you know a little bit of English, pack your bags, come to America, start
Mm-hmm.
fighting here, but learn the language and learn the system here.
Mm-hmm.
Because Americans are only going to get behind you when they feel like you're converting to one of them. If they
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're just here for a cash grab, they won't respect you as much.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the reasons why Canelo's interesting. Canelo's very interesting because people are complaining that this asshole knows English and he doesn't speak it. And that's one
Mm-hmm.
of the biggest pet peeves about boxers. That it's like, yo, I know this guy speaks English. Why does he ever talk English? Because Canelo's not comfortable. But
Mm-hmm.
it's his superstar status in the ring that kind of plays his non-speaking English. But not everybody's
Here's
going to
the
be a
thing.
Canelo.
Here's the thing. It's weird. It's a weird case with Canelo. Yes, in boxing he's a superstar, but is he? You know, there was this meme about Karen. You know, who is Karen? She's the girl who calls the manager at the grocery shop, right? The average American. And I think you were talking about
Okay.
the average
Yeah.
viewer.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think Karen knows about Canelo, or do you think Karen knows about Conor McGregor? You know, of course she knows Conor McGregor. I would assume so. There's a higher possibility that she knows about Conor McGregor than she knows about Canelo. But Canelo is getting paid maybe fivefold what Conor McGregor gets paid for his fight.
So Karen doesn't know her, but Marcella does. Marcella is a South American, right? So Karen might not know her, but
Right.
everybody in South America knows Canelo, and that's
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much it.
South America doesn't pay.
Yeah,
You
but
know, I understand the Mexican audience, the Latin American
it's a huge
audience in the
audience. The
United
Latin audience
States,
is huge. Yeah.
they're getting that pay-per-view money. But is he an actual superstar in America, in the mainstream media? Is he a superstar on
No,
CNN, on Fox, or whatever the
no,
ABCs?
he's only big in Mexico. And when I talk about Canelo, if you go back to any of my tweets about him, because I really
Mm-hmm.
do put him up there, it's because he's able to have a country behind him. If you can have your own country behind you,
Mm-hmm.
that's what matters at that point, because those are your audiences. And this is why Canelo's so huge. Other than his record,
Mm-hmm.
right, and his good looks and his charm, he has
Mm-hmm.
a country behind him. This is what America has failed at ever since Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Joe Louis
Mm-hmm.
days.
Mm-hmm.
We have not had a boxer that America gets behind. Deontay Wilder had his fucking chance,
Mm-hmm.
but his handlers failed him. And I can say that publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Deontay Wilder's handlers have constantly failed him over and over again. And I've been saying that for 5 fucking years now.
What do you think they
Why
should have done
hasn't-
differently?
Why hasn't he ever done any brand deal? I mean, I always talk about Deontay, so I'm not going to do it this time, but it's like, and it's not just brand deals. He's never acquired an audience for himself. He's never been featured in any cross promotion, cool YouTube videos with like Kevin Hart, skydiving with Casey Neistat and shit. Like, he could have done so much
Mm-hmm.
digitally to acquire at least a chunk of the audience who's
Mm-hmm.
still going to rock with him. Because hardcore fans, we forgot him. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how hardcores are. Once you lose, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
But other than the small, maybe like hardcore fans at PBC are still going to root for him.
Mm-hmm.
But the mass majority of hardcore fans are done with Deontay. Are they not?
See, I think about it differently. I think hardcores will remember Deontay, but the casual fans will forget him really quickly. And same with the general American audience. I feel like they don't know about Canelo. They know, maybe your Hispanic friend whose dad is in boxing, he would be into it. But my point about speaking about Canelo is that Canelo's promotion again is solely based on the country behind him, and that's paying out well.
And that's what I mean. So we need our athletes to have our country support.
But here's the thing.
To do that. And this is why I'm so passionate about talking about Deontay. A lot of people think I hate him or something. It's not that I hate the guy. I'm a huge fan of it. I was one of the first people to tweet when Deontay got his WBC belt from Bermain Stavern, right? So that was the night that I fell in love with Deontay. I said, man, I'm going to get behind this guy, because America finally got the heavyweight champion back after, like, at that time, I think it was like 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it was. Now we're talking about people being patriotic about your athlete. He never stood a chance with that because the handlers never put him anywhere. And during the Super Bowl, they put him into this dance competition, whatever it was called, but it's like, it's not going to work.
My point with Canelo is that he's leaving money on the table by not catering to the average Americans, non-Spanish speakers. That's the thing. Like, even if he is speaking English, he doesn't have to speak it all the time. But his team is not focusing on basically getting him into the mainstream media. Like for do you know how many Hispanics there is that don't speak Spanish and they only associate Canelo with themselves because they're that into boxing. That's
Yeah.
the point where I was like, well, you're literally leaving money on the table. You can just do something in English and get on that little soundbite on CNN, on Morning America, or something like that, and that would bring you so much more viewership. Everyone's gonna be like, who is this red hair? How many people don't know about this little red haired guy, and all of a sudden they will realize him and like, they want to check him out. So that's what I'm saying. Like they're leaving that
So
on the
I think,
table.
yeah, let me better answer your question, because I'm recalling your original question now, which is very important. How do you get somebody from outside of US to retain an audience? Is that
Hmm.
it? Like somebody
Yeah,
doesn't speak English good?
yeah.
Uh, Bring your audience from back home with you. That's what it is. So if you
Well,
can,
that depends on the home, right? Yeah, we have Mexican
Ukraine,
Americans.
Russia, Kazakhstan, I mean, all these countries are still, they still relatively have a community there, right?
Mm,
Like Pakistan, for example. I'm originally from Toronto. My parents are obviously Pakistani. Um, we have a huge sports craze there. Like
mm,
we're all about who's outside of our country doing good and who can we
mm,
get behind, right? And I think every immigration country that like you and I, our parents are from, we do have that from back home. That we have family, cousins, and relatives who want to see how is Azizi doing in Toronto, how is Jay
mm,
doing in Canada, and
mm,
when they hear that we're doing successful, they get behind us. So with these athletes coming from overseas, it's important for them to start building their communities there with
mm.
the same thing I'm talking about, with the same content, with the
Right.
same series look. You can still get together a team to kind of do that. And as you're building your rankings there, you can start building that for yourself in America. I
Mm,
mean, sorry, you can bring that audience and system that you built to America once you
mm.
get that American prize fight. And it's the same. It's the
Yeah.
same system everywhere you are. And Gary Vee talks about that a lot. It doesn't matter which country you're from.
Mm.
Everybody's currently on an iPhone 5 or higher, and that's
Right.
all you
Right.
need.
Right. And I see that as well. I'm just thinking I'm just thinking about angles. How else can you do it? But again, that's exactly what you will be what you are getting paid for is actually promote the fighter and think about those angles, because you
Yeah.
cannot just think about them right like that on the spot. And this is
No.
where you have to invest in it, invest in the
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
agency. So I just
Right.
recently saw that you produce Cynthia Conte's podcast. 88 and Hustle was the episode with Bob Arum. How did that come about?
Man, that's a really cool story, man. So I actually put out a tweet that said, because obviously we're living in some crazy times, and I understand that there's a lot of people who wanted to do something, maybe they can't get off their feet. So
Yeah.
I tweeted out, I'm prepared to offer my services at free of cost for
Oh yeah, I
anybody.
remember that. That was awesome.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? Whoever's serious, get in touch with me. I'm going to help set up your first podcast, your first YouTube channel, your
Uh-huh.
first whatever you want to do. Just tell me, and I'll do it for you, free.
Mhm.
And let
Mhm.
me see what happens. I ended up getting like 10, 12 DMs from some people, and then half of them were kind of just like they wanted to kind of find out my process, so they took it and left. And I said, okay, that's fine. And then a few of them didn't commit, right? So that was interesting to see. They're like, yeah, I'm ready. Give me a
Mhm.
call Monday. I'm going to call you Monday, Jay. And then
Mhm.
Monday came and went. They never called.
Mhm.
But then there was three who contacted me, who actually went through with the entire system. And that was Cynthia Conte, Fernando from Fit Warrior, and yourvisa.ca, which is an online immigration firm. Shout out to yourvisa.ca. And I helped each one of them create their own podcast. Fernando was a YouTube channel. Cynthia Conte wanted to do a podcast, and so did Your Visa. And we set up both of them for Anchor podcasts, and we gave them the
Mhm.
blueprint. I showed them how they can make money in the long run.
Mhm.
I gave them all the technical details, all that. I mean, I can get into all that. But Cynthia was someone who I was just like really excited about, because I'm like, man, like you could really like just hearing her sound on the voice. I'm like, you're a radio girl, like
Yeah.
Cynthia. She has a radio personality.
Yeah, she's a boxing announcer. She is
Yeah.
basically, has her own YouTube channel, interviews. She has interviews with all the biggest boxing stars. I mean, she is in the business for sure.
Yeah, dude, she's really cool. You know what? Like, she's really super friendly. She's super sparky, and she's bubbly, and she's fun, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And so when I was talking to her, I said, "Yo, like, you could totally take over this radio game in boxing, because as we move to an audio-oriented um, uh, audience, like I think
Mhm.
your voice could kind of come up above over anybody else." And she's like, "Yeah, I totally agree." So she had the idea. She already had the concept in mind of what she wanted the podcast to look like. And I really did. My work was easy because Cynthia knew what she wanted to do from the beginning. I was just the one to kind of like put it together in a picture for her and let her know that this is the system you need for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I found out that she was having Bob as her first guest, I said, fuck, I'm going to produce this with you, the first episode. So she's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, let's just fucking do it. And then I co-produced the 88th in Hustle episode with her, which is a huge success. We had over like 2,500 original viewers on the first night. And
that's amazing.
It doesn't sound like big because we're so used to hearing numbers like, oh, like
trust me, for a podcaster, like I know the numbers. This is freaking huge.
2,500 people listening to you is a big deal in boxing.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Very big deal in boxing. So we were very excited to find out those numbers. And I wish her the best, man. Shout out to Cynthia Conte. Keep it up.
Awesome, man. So tell me about your current projects and what are you going to do once the whole craziness is going to be over around here? And what are you working on and what are you hoping to achieve in the nearest future?
Currently, I'm working on just signing as many new faces as I can to the agency. We're celebrating our 2nd year anniversary today, actually. So for me, it's very important for me to look back and figure out what I can do differently moving forward in terms of what I was trying to do that didn't work. So it's all trial and error. When you're running a startup, you know what I mean? It's like cutting glass to finger. You know what I mean? Like you bleed a lot.
Never heard about that phrase, but that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and you bleed a lot, and it's slow and it hurts. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not a draining process at all, but for me, it's just very important to kind of figure out where Break Media stands in the space of boxing and how we can further advance our partnerships with current managers, promoters, networks, execs, boxers, and people alike. I do have some personal projects on the go, such as Boxing Moms with Michelle Rosado. That is expected to obviously release sometime soon, season 2, after we figure out who our distribution partner would be. We're in talks with a few networks and platforms right now.
Yeah, man, but that's exciting. And really, I'm excited to see where you're gonna end up. But I'm already seeing this energy, and I'm just so excited for you. And I'm so excited that you're here in town. And I'm, usually I would meet with my guests, would have some lunch, had some coffee, and went for drinks afterwards. So I'm hoping once the whole thing is over, we can meet up and just talk boxing, talk marketing. I would love that, and that would be amazing.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I think you and I should definitely connect in Toronto when this is all over. Who knows when this is going to be over?
Yeah, for sure, man. How can people reach you? How can they find you?
Just online, man. I mean, I'm easy to find. Producer_JC. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Breakmediagroup.com is the website for anybody looking to learn more about the agency and what we're creating in the space of sports, in particular boxing. But I think it's very important now more than ever for people to entertain their fans. That's all it comes down to. You're doing it. I love your stuff, bro. Congratulations. Thanks, on your podcast. And there's a lot of people like you, like Cynthia, who are just looking for their voice to be heard right now. So if you could do it, Cynthia can do it. Why can't a superstar athlete?
Absolutely. I agree. Hey, and the last question. In this era of lack of barbershops and low access to barbers themselves, how do you keep your hair so flawless?
Oh my God. You know what it is, Azizi? I was lucky enough to train myself on how to cut my hair. So for anybody out there who's watching, go to your local drug mart, pick up a trimmer, use the number 2, and just go all around the sides of your head to the back, and you'll be set. And just keep the top nice and flimsy. Then there you have it. Barber Tips by JC. That's
awesome, man. Yeah. All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so excited to post this. I'm going to be working on this and editing. And but yeah, I hope you will join me again sometime and we can talk more about it. I feel like this is an important stuff.
Thanks so much for having me, man, and good luck to you.
Yeah, no problem, man. All righty. Take care.